I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. There was a band in 2009, that a website that reviews music in text form, called Pitchfork. Everyone loves Pitchfork. They found this band that was just a duo of crazy drums and lots of thrashy guitar, kind of a punk vibe, but better than punk, in better as in higher quality songwriting than punk. You know, not verse, chorus, but is in, you know, full expansive, these, you know, long track lengths that are more experimental, but still had a really fun edge. That band was Japandroids, which is a really interesting band name. I thought it was a great band name for a band, just a duo that wants, you know, that just, it captures the essence of what they are going for, which is just youth. The whole theme of their debut album, which came out in 2009, Post Nothing, is youth and just freedom and being alive. And while their music wasn't that tight, while the drums were kind of sloppy, guitar parts, and you know, their lyrics were just really bad, but kind of funny at the same time, but youth-inspired. I mean, if you were 15 years old, you loved that album, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a great album.
It's like your soundtrack,
right.
Your summer jam.
You know, and so we reviewed that album right when Velocities in Music was getting started.
Early episode.
And we really liked it after all. We decided after a number of listens that, you know, it was a good album overall. I think we gave it like low 70s.
Yeah, around 70.
And we liked it, but we realized that there were some problems. So we were really anticipating Japandroids' follow-up that came out very recently in 2012. It's called Celebration Rock. This album is a whole new form of Japandroids in that this band takes their sound very seriously. They completely expand on the sound that they had in Post Nothing, and Celebration Rock is all about celebrating rock, which is awesome. So you get a lot of classic rock influences, a lot of punk influences, but more expansive songwriting. There's a lot of longer track lengths, you know, averaging, you know, 4.5 minutes in length. It's an 8-track album that really just shows what the band can do. It takes all of the things that they did in Post Nothing and builds on them. Tom, what was your take on some of the sounds you heard in Celebration Rock? I
actually ended up really liking.
Awesome.
I like, you know, I feel like compared to Post Nothing, where I wanted this band to go, they really took it there.
Yeah.
And that was impressive to me, because I'll tell you, for some reason, you know, I don't know why I'm just so cynical towards Japandroids, but I just want to hate this band.
Yeah.
But no matter how much I try, I just can't.
Yeah.
There's just this endearing quality that you absolutely cannot deny. And I remember the first time I heard Post Nothing, I was legitimately angry because I had heard all this hype about it, and I was so pissed. I was like, this is the dumbest crap. The drummer can't drum. The singer, he tries to hit every single note that he can up and down.
Yeah,
on the chromatic scale. You know, and it just killed me.
Right.
I hated it. I warmed up to it a bit, but looking back, it's really just that there were some tracks and some spots that I really liked, and there was some weaker stuff. I feel like every single problem they had on that album, they fixed here. They grew up, they matured in all the right places while maintaining that youthful energy that is what made people fall in love with them in the first place. But I feel like the lyrics got more mature, the drummer got tighter, the vocalist doesn't go, oh!
Yeah, the vocals are actually
very strong.
Really strong highlight. I was really impressed with the vocals because the lead singer is projecting, and at times almost to the point of just belting it out. He's yelling at you. But then there's also these backup harmonies that are awesome and add so much of a different dynamic. You know, it gives the song depth. I really thought that the vocals added a new element to Japandroids' music here. They really just made the songwriting. But on top of that, Tom, all the songwriting here is so much stronger. You see a lot of just really good compositions where you don't have defined choruses. You'll have like really long outros, like in track 7, The House That Heaven Built, where you have 2 main guitar melodies that are kind of extended length of like a minute long each, but they're just so memorable, and everything just seems to flow very nicely.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because that's really what made me fall in love with it in the end.
Right.
Because in the beginning, once again, I was maybe sitting in like the low to mid 70s on this one, because I was like, yeah, it's good, but just for me, just hearing a guy with a guitar and a drummer. You know, obviously, I mean, there are a lot of duos like that out there, but I really felt like these guys weren't doing a whole lot with it. It wasn't until I really got to know each song individually, it's like I personally, you know, got to know them, that I realized every single song on this album is good, and good for slightly different reasons. Even if the sound is slightly one-dimensional, if they're all presented in kind of the same way, they still accomplish something different. And also, there's just not a weak track. I think the weakest track for me on here is track 5, Adrenaline Night Shift, and it's not even a weak track. It's just not as strong as the other ones.
And it's probably the most like Post Nothing.
Yeah.
So if you were a fan of Post Nothing, you'll probably love that track too. Now, what's really impressed, like as Tom said, they do they adhere to a single sound. You know, this is a very much a cohesive album sound. But on top of that, what they're doing is they're referencing classic rock and punk rock, and you see those influences come out a little bit more on different tracks. They also do something that really like bands like the Black Keys and the White Stripes do all the time, which is an old blues classic rock strategy of have 1 or 2 covers on your album and make those covers your own. And I really felt that they did that with track 4, For the Love of Ivy. I just really liked that cover. It was aggressive, and I think they nailed it. So overall, I felt like this was a very strong album. I was impressed throughout by how much this band has matured, and on top of it, this album, they wrote this album. So after 2009, they went on tour after that album, after Post Nothing came out. These guys loved touring, and then they found that when they went back in the studio and came home from their tour last year in 2011, that they were kind of bored. They missed touring, so they wanted to write an album rather quickly so that they could go back on tour and start living the good life of just rocking out all the time for their fans. You know, that is the definition of a cool rock band right there.
That's true.
And one would think that when you have that kind of disclaimer over a new album that's coming out, one would think that, you know, it would be hastily written, it wouldn't be as high quality, it wouldn't be, you know, all the finer points wouldn't be kind of, you know, meticulous and enslaved over, you know, the production would have been sloppy. That's not the case. This is really high quality stuff, and I'm really excited that this band has another, you know, great album for us to listen to that expands their sound. I'm just wondering what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, really, they're going to have to change their sound at some time. So I love this as a sophomore record because while their debut was so interesting, it had problems. And here, they fixed all the problems, and you just have a really high quality Japandroids record. Now we get to see what they're going to do next. And I hope we're in for a wild ride. Japandroids is a solid band. I'm glad I listened to them. I can't wait to eventually see them on tour. They're on my 2 must-see list. I want to see them. I'm going 83 on this one.
I'm going 85.
Tom even liked it more than me. That's awesome.
I wasn't expecting it.
Yep. What did you guys think of Japandroids Celebration Rock? Do you like this album? Do you prefer Post Nothing? I mean, Post Nothing was extremely endearing. This is a little bit more mature, so it might seem less endearing to people who are in love with Post Nothing. Really interested in your comments. Leave us one at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. That's where we do a lot of talking with our fans, you know, getting requests and ideas for the show. Leave us a comment. We'd love to get in touch with you. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Moving Music Critique Forward.